that are dead due to his ineptness in handling the coronavirus. He lied to the American people. He calls military men and women losers. He calls, African Americans and all sorts of names, and Latinos, all sorts of names. And I think his own cabinet members call him unfit. Mattis said to DNI Director Coates, Trump's dangerous, he's unfit. The president has no moral compass. Coates even said to him, a lie is not a lie, it's just what he thinks. He doesn't know the difference between a truth and a lie. These are people that know him, that served under him. So fit is bizarre. So the fact that others don't, to me, how could people still seem to think that he's the president?
Sonny, they're talking about physically unfit. We'll have to see the polls that tell you whether he's morally unfit. Sarah, before we go, tell us what you think.
Well, I think that what Megan alluded to about the lack of enthusiasm for either candidate concerns me purely because we need voter turnout for any election to work, to be successful, for change. But I think what Anna said was also important. I think it's a false equivalent to compare these two men and what voters are saying is mentally unfit. I think when people talk about Joe Biden, they're speaking, and I love Joe Biden. I've met him on a few occasions. I think what they mean is if you compare public appearances from even a few years ago, that the way he presents himself has changed slightly. Now, with President Trump, I think you're talking about his actual default settings, like the person he inherently is, and one scares me lend itself to the collaboration that's nothing more than the other. I think the way president is necessary for any president to be successful, Trump operates, it doesn't last well, surrounding yourselves by the best of every field, leaning on those generals. And as we've seen with President Trump, there's been high turnover. People have left. Those very people that were in those inner circles are the ones saying he's mentally unfit. So between the two, I see the division, but I don't think you can compare the reasons behind that.
Okay. Well, I've met both of them, and I haven't seen Donald in years, it seems. But when I see him on television, he seems to be lumbering along. And then I see footage of Biden riding a bike and running. And I mean, I don't know what television station these people are watching. It must be that the Fox viewers must be seeing it different from everybody else.
The new special Shark Attack, the Paige Winter story with Robin Roberts, takes you on an inspiring year-long journey of a 17-year-old girl trying to emotionally and physically get her life back together after being attacked. Robin Roberts, we want to be attacked by a shark, and we're joined to find out all about this. This is an amazing, now by host and executive producer, story that you did with her, because it's just stunning. Go ahead, Joy.
It is.
Well, we're going to get to that in a second, but let's start with a little politics, okay? Because in August,
shocking. You want to talk politics? This is shocking.
I know. Listen, it's everywhere. I'm up at night thinking about it. So you and David Muir landed the first joint interview with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris of ABC News. So bravo to you. Tell me, what was the takeaway from the conversation, in your opinion?
Well, as you all started off saying, it's 54 days until the election, and David Muir and I traveled to Delaware for the interview, and it was wonderful working with David on this. And many people were asking, were anything off the table? Nothing was off the table. We could ask them anything, including the debate. We're talking about the debates because a lot of people with debates. During our interview, and Senator Harris was selected as a runner, it became very clear that they are on the same page about what they feel are the important issues facing this country. And at the end of the day, they want the same things, but the journey getting there is perhaps different. But what they want is the same, and so they're in lockstep in that regard.
Well, Robin, I'm so excited about this. I love anything shark related. You have a new primetime special, Shark Attack, the Paige Winter story with Robin Roberts. And you first interviewed Paige last year, just a few weeks after she had been attacked by a shark while swimming at the beach, resulting in the loss of Mrs. Awful, her left leg and two of her fingers. What drew you to this story so early on?
Well, Megan, oftentimes there's a story like this, and in the press journalists, we want to talk to the principals, the people involved. And so as you said, I sat down with her in the hospital. She had just taken by her spirit and had her leg amputated. The doctors and nurses talking about, and I was just so, her attitude and how she said to me, hey, some of the pieces are missing, but I'm still the same. And oftentimes when we do a story, we're like, okay, bye, but we wanted to know what happens after that. And so we followed her for the year, and it was so gracious of her to allow us to have cameras so we could document what it's like after something like that happens to you.
And Paige recounts the early moments of the attack in vivid detail, and we have a clip. Take a look.
I remember feeling the teeth like piercing like through my hand, and I was like, off. I was like thinking of like a bear trap, and the bear trap was like the shark's teeth in my mind. I'm just gonna try to like put my hands in there and like see what happens. And it like came off for a second. It was like, what are you doing? Like it spit my hands out. I was like, ew, gross. And then like put my leg back in its mouth. Like this is what I want. And then I'm like sitting there like, and I got up for a second, holding my breath, shutting my eyes, and I heard screaming. I'm underwater. I can't get up. Like gasped and got some seawater all up in there. And I remember just like, hold your breath, Paige, just hold it.
Bizarre. So the fact that, and Robin, you faced some incredibly challenging times yourself. When you look at Paige and what she's gone through, how key has her attitude and outlook been in her recovery?
Well, everybody's got something, Sarah. You know, you've heard me say that time and time again. And her attitude is everything in the recovery. When she said to me that when this was happening to her, when she was in the throes of the shark attack, that her life wasn't passing before her eyes, her future was. And to have that, I mean, this is a teenager. And she just realized that, no, this is not going to prevent me. She, at that moment, she was saying she could not wait until she could walk through the door for high school. She was about to start her senior year, and she was committed.
It was just so amazing. I
to living her life.
got the chance, Robin, to watch the screener. It's so well done, and as the parent of two teenagers, she is remarkable. And I'd like to talk to you about Paige's dad, Charlie, whom you also interview. And he rushed into the water that day and saved her life. What was it like to hear him talk about that moment? Because that just struck me when I heard him.
I bet as a parent, I bet it did, Sonny. And you're going to hear details in the special tonight that have never been revealed before about how he was able to fend off the shark and just really get into details about the attack. You know, he is a firefighter and a paramedic. And he went after that shark. And he was so exhausted when he got his daughter back to shore. And many people thought, oh, the fact that he was a firefighter and paramedic, he was able to tend to his daughter. And you all who are parents can respect this. He said, no, he was there he didn't know how many moments he might have father. You know, others grateful left with his daughter. And so he wanted we were there and could help. He said to be there to comfort her. But the detail that they willingly go into, and more importantly, the journey from this past year. We had cameras with them for more than a year, and to see where she is now and how this year has unfolded for her.
Well, in the special, we see Paige in the running for homecoming queen at the high school, and this was only months after the attack, which is incredible. What does she want people to learn from her story?
She wants people to learn that probably before the attack, she would not have run for homecoming queen. That it brought something out in her, a boldness that she perhaps didn't have before. And what she wants to show, and all of us who consider ourselves thrivers after we've gone through our something, this too shall pass. And she is a shining example to her future. And wait till you hear the story of that and remaining optimistic, what she plans to do in Mystic. And so looking forward in the future.
I love this. As I said, I love this special, Robin. I'm so proud to see it. We want to thank Robin Roberts. I believe the special is on this evening. My stuff just went down. So we'll make sure that it comes up. There it is. It airs tonight at 10 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. And you can, of course, see Robin every weekday on Good Morning America.
Tell us how she's helping To keep the Latina community informed and engaged is the talented and the super patriotic Eva Longoria. Sarah has a question.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Eva. We always love having you here on the show. You exude such girl power that's very on brand for us as a panel of women, and you do so much work with your activism, your acting and directing, and a lot of it is women-focused. Why is that so important to you?
Decisions. We make the educational decisions. Look, women are the CEOs of the house. We make the healthcare decisions. So we make the financial decisions. And, you know, during this year, in this pandemic, we've just seen women bear the brunt of the responsibilities, whether it's for their business, for their job, for their children, homeschooling. I just thank God Santi's not at the age of homeschooling, because I can't imagine what parents and mothers are going through right now. But, you know, we should focus on women. Women make the world go round. Women are the economic engine of this particular country and of the world. And, you know, we're not a special interest group. We are half the population of the globe.
So, Eva, let's talk a little bit about the DNC. You've been at the DNC on multiple occasions, and I guess some Republicans forgot to Google you. We saw during the convention that Marco Rubio came after you. He tweeted, "Brilliant move. No one is more in touch with Americans than actors with Americans with a chance celebrities." With challenges and obstacles by every day, which I thought was really funny, given that their nominee is an actor and celebrity and show host, so they must have forgotten who they nominated. And then we saw Ronna McDaniel Romney, the name she's taken away, come at you during the opening of the RNC. So, come on, sister, respond to that. How do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, people thought I got Marco Rubio trending. Ana Navarro got Marco Rubio trending. Because the fierce backlash he got, because I didn't show up to the DNC as a celebrity. I showed up as a ninth-generation American. I showed up as the daughter of a veteran. I showed up as the daughter of a teacher. I showed up as a woman who took student loans, had student debt for 10 years, a woman who had 6 jobs during college just to, you know, put food on my table. And so I definitely achieved the American dream, and I definitely understand the struggles now, today, in a place of, and how to privilege, but that wasn't always the case for me.
Eva, the other day I referenced a poll from NBC that shows Biden severely underperforming with Florida Latinos. In 2016, that demographic preferred Hillary Clinton over Trump by a huge margin. It's almost 20 points. But as of the latest Gallup polling, Trump holds a narrow lead over Biden. The RNC has made a real effort, especially in Florida, to engage Latino voters, and it seems to be working. I'm actually very surprised by this. Are you concerned that Democrats are forgetting about this key demographic?
Yeah, you know, you were so right. I was listening to Hot Topics when you were talking about the enthusiasm gap, and that's definitely been the challenge for eligible Latino voters who don't show up. They've registered, they've done almost everything except go to the polls, and a lot of that is voter suppression. That's alive and real. But what it proves, I think, is that
Challenges and obstacles by every day, which I thought was really funny, given that their nominee is an actor and celebrity and show host, so they must have forgotten who they nominated. And then we saw Ronna McDaniel Romney, the name she's taken away, come at you during the opening of the RNC. So, come on, sister, respond to that. How do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, people thought I got Marco Rubio trending. Ana Navarro got Marco Rubio trending. Because the fierce backlash he got, because I didn't show up to the DNC as a celebrity. I showed up as a ninth-generation American. I showed up as the daughter of a veteran. I showed up as the daughter of a teacher. I showed up as a woman who took student loans, had student debt for 10 years, a woman who had 6 jobs during college just to, you know, put food on my table. And so I definitely achieved the American dream, and I definitely understand the struggles now, today, in a place of, and how to privilege, but that wasn't always the case for me.
Eva, the other day I referenced a poll from NBC that shows Biden severely underperforming with Florida Latinos. In 2016, that demographic preferred Hillary Clinton Biden over Trump by a huge margin. It's almost 20 points. But as of the latest Gallup polling, Trump holds a narrow lead over Biden. The RNC has made a real effort, especially in Florida, to engage Latino voters, and it seems to be working. I'm actually very surprised by this. Are you concerned that Democrats are forgetting about this key demographic?
Yeah, you know, you were so right. I was listening to Hot Topics when you were talking about the enthusiasm gap, and that's definitely been the challenge for eligible Latino voters who don't show up. They've registered, they've done almost everything except go to the polls, and a lot of that is voter suppression. That's alive and real. But what it proves, I think, is that, you know, electorate in Florida, they have a very different hat. We're not a monolithic group, right? Historic relationship with Cubans make up a large part of the Latino country, as does Mexican Americans, as does Puerto Ricans. I will also say Florida is the only state that Biden is trailing with Latinos. And, you know, I think at the end of the day, the only poll that's going to matter is the one on November 3rd. President Trump's assault on the Latino community and Latino dignity started the very first day of his campaign, and that's continued in the last 4 years, putting children in cages, betraying dreamers, underfunding schools and communities of color, the neglect of Puerto Ricans after Hurricane Maria. So I think at the end of the day, we're a very smart community. We will not be voting fear-based. We're going to be fighting with a candidate who shares our values of family and the candidate who's going to provide economic mobility. Because here's the other thing that people take for granted is that Latino issues are immigration and citizenship. The number one issue for Latinos is the economy, the economic mobility. Yes. We want to make sure that infrastructure, that's what we want for our children, opportunity for us to achieve and our families. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to side with the candidate who's going to provide that infrastructure. And I think we know who it is.
Thank you for reminding people about Puerto Rico. And people must vote regardless of party affiliation, right? And that's an important aspect of your new nonpartisan platform for Latinas called She Se Puede. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, you know, we started She Se Puede, which has nothing to do with any campaign or any election. This is actually bigger than every cycle. It was birthed from me in America and Zoe Saldana. We were all campaigning in Florida, advocating for yet another candidate on a stage, given talking points, and we were going, why are we advocating for ourselves? Where's the community, and not only of Latinos, but specifically Latinas, because we're fierce and we're powerful, we warm, that allows Latinos to want to lift each other up. So we wanted to build to see our power, believe digital community, a lifestyle, a platform in our power, and to act on that power. And that's in many ways, whether it's learning to open a small business, getting informed about a new workout, a cooking recipe, or civic engagement. And so the platform is going to be really exciting because it's going to inspire and affirm and inform Latinas to leverage our power in a way that can transform our lives.
Fonda is a Hollywood icon, and she's known for her activism as well as her acting. But her new book, What Can I Do? My Path from Climate Despair to Action, is out now. And with wildfires still raging in the West Coast, it could not come at a better time. Please welcome the fabulous Jane Fonda. Good morning, Jane Fonda. I was reading here you were arrested. Good morning. You were arrested 5 times trying to raise awareness for the climate crisis, and you say civil disobedience has to be the new norm. Now, that this is what we must do, and I've always known that, but how in order to make the change, how do we get other people to recognize what to say?
Well, apparently there are 13 million Americans who are prepared to engage in civil disobedience and risk getting arrested, but they've never been asked. And so what I'm doing is going after the great unasked. Last week, Fired River Fridays had 750,000 people watching. Now to you all on the Zoom, that's nothing on the Zoom, on the View, but everything on Zoom, right? But for us, that's great. There are more and more people who are paying attention and wanting to get involved, and tens of thousands of them are volunteering. Get out the vote, registering people to vote, re-registering people who have been purged from the polls. People are active and involved. It's pretty great.
Well, you would that not everyone can acknowledge in the book, which is fantastic, or or should engage in civil ways. It's a guide to activism, disobedience. People of color and undocumented immigrants have much more at risk. And you also write about being treated differently in jail because you're white and famous. What did you observe when you were in jail as a white and famous person?
Well, thank you for saying that. I definitely, my experience is not the same as it would be if I was a person of color, a black, particularly a black woman. There's something about putting your body on the line, aligning yourself totally with your deepest values that is very empowering, even though you're having handcuffs and shackles put on you and you've lost all control, you still feel very empowered and joyful. And I would look around and see the other people with me. I could tell they were feeling the same thing. It's feels good. And you know, it's stepping up your game. And who usually are below the radar, they don't want to be, politicized. This kind of man, if you get enough good-looking women there kneeling in front of them, saying you can be the greatest hero the world has ever seen, it'll be huge. If you just do away with fossil fuels and move us into a clean, sustainable energy future and explain to him how to do it, that he would want to please us women. So I told Ivanka that, and she nothing. Didn't go anywhere.
Well, the U.S. is facing so many issues right now. The pandemic, racial injustice, the climate crisis. You write that they're all interconnected and that communities of color are disproportionately affected. Can you talk a little bit more about
First of all, the fossil fuel
that?
Industry very deliberately puts its in. Yeah, well, there's a lot of levels to it. Infrastructure, it's wells, it's fracking pits, it's refining.